Taking a look at the co-main event here, Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski for the featherweight title. You know, when I go back and I look at Max Holloway, for the last 4 years, he's fought guys that had great opportunities to beat him. Ortega, Aldo, Pettis, Stevens, Charles Oliveira. He's always had people that really have had the tools to beat him, but when you look at why they haven't, a lot of times what you see is they just don't show up 100%. And Max will make you pay for not showing up 100%. Whether it's cardio, whether it's aggression, whether it's striking, he finds a way to take advantage of wherever you're not complete, and he gets you. And when I look at Volkanovski, how he's a great fighter. He's got great wins. He's got wins over Aldo. He's got wins over Mendes. But here's the thing. When you look at those two fights, right? Number one, you can't make a case for Mendes to fight Holloway right now. And Holloway sent Aldo out of the division, right? That's big. There's a big difference there. And when you look at that difference, I think it's levels. We hear it all the time. It's so cliche that there's levels to this. And I think this is going to be one of those fights where we see levels. I don't know that Poirier was actually better than Max Holloway. I just think that was one of those instances where you don't have 100%. And I think that Holloway is going to show us there are levels to this. And then right now, Volkanovski may be a great fighter, but he is not on Max Holloway's level. And if he doesn't come in 100%, and I haven't really seen 100% from him, this is going to be a very impressive fight for Max Holloway.
Stylistically, Max Holloway is just a nightmare to deal with at 145. He is. Great volume, great range, great height, great awareness, very hard to hit, surprisingly hard puncher. And when you look at who he's taken out, Frankie Edgar, he looked fantastic. Brian Ortega, he looked fantastic. An aging Jose Aldo, but beat him twice. Pettis, Lama, Stevens, every time he goes in there, and Charles Oliveira, who's an absolute beast. He just has a style that is hard to deal with on the fly. He's like, similar in a sense, wide open hands, a little bit to the Diaz brothers, where he tends to take fighters off their game and they can't seem to deal with him. I don't think it's so much they don't show up 100% as much as Holloway's style is just so difficult to adjust to. And I think he's a deceptively hard puncher too. When you see him on tape, you don't realize how hard he can hit. And then you're in there and you go, oh crap. He isn't just a pitter-pat puncher. This guy can hit. And I agree with you about that. Volkanovski, I think, is a worthy challenger. He has earned the right to be here. He is an excellent fighter. He brings real skills. I just don't think he brings anything Max Holloway hasn't seen before. I think Max Holloway has dealt with fighters like Volkanovski. Volkanovski has never dealt with a fighter like Max Holloway. That's the difference here. Holloway's been in bigger fights. He's dealt with talented, stocky strikers that didn't give him a lot to work with. He's dealt with that before. I think that's kind of what he dealt with against Frankie Edgar. So it's about Volkanovski being a bit out of his depth against, I think, a guy when it's all said and done might be one or two all-time at 145.